And a good Friday morning to you. We're coming on the air with some breaking news from the Supreme Court. The High Court has just declined to stop a ban of TikTok, now set to take effect on Sunday. TikTok is, of course, one of the most popular social media apps in this country, with some 170 million users in the U.S. alone. But the app is owned by a Chinese company, and lawmakers on both sides of the aisle have said that it is a national security risk. Today's decision comes after the court heard arguments from TikTok against the law that essentially forces its parent company, ByteDance, to sell its operations here. Situation very fluid right now. Both the outgoing Biden administration and the incoming Trump administration, they've both said that they may try to keep the app going. Joined now by our senior legal correspondent, Laura Jarrett. So, Laura, let's just start with what this means, what it doesn't mean, and what happens next.
So no question, a defeat for TikTok here. Obviously, the ban can go through, but there's a question mark about whether the law is actually going to be enforced, even though it was a bipartisan law passed by Congress, signed by President Biden. It may not actually get enforced. So let's come back to that for a second. First, on the law here, the district court, I should say, actually, the District of Columbia, the circuit court there in D.C., decided to let this ban go through. And today, the Supreme Court saying they got it right. So they are affirming the lower court decision, which means the ban can go through, at least legally, as of Sunday. That's when the law was supposed to go into effect. And so this allows that to happen. They say they're not going to get into the First Amendment implications of it. That was something that TikTok had raised. Instead, they're looking at the national security implications, something that the Justice Department, the FBI, they've raised concerns about, as you mentioned, the Chinese ownership interest here, whether the manipulation of American users' data could happen, whether Americans could be spied on effectively. And because of that reason, the Supreme Court is allowing this ban to go through. Now, however, as we have been reporting for days now, as Savannah and others have been reporting for days, the Biden administration effectively ready to punt this over to the Trump administration. The Trump administration also realizing the popularity of this app, looking for ways to save it. But for the company, if I'm the general counsel, I'm saying as of right now, I have a valid law that the Supreme Court is saying can go through. This ban can go through. And so even though the political winds may change here, Craig, the ban as of right now can go into effect on Sunday.
Based on the arguments that we heard during the case there, and based on what we heard from the justices themselves, are you at all surprised by the High Court's decision?
No, and the timing here really, I think, sort of crystallized the stakes for everybody. The whole point of this law was to sort of prompt a divestiture. They hoped by passing this law by Congress, then the company would actually offload this books, perhaps sell it to someone else. That didn't happen, and so they were sort of in a game of chicken, and really everybody was trying to see which one would sort of do the head fake first, but that has not happened here. And so now it's going to be up to the next administration to decide whether to enforce this or not.
Savannah Sellers has been all over the story from the very beginning. I want to bring you into the conversation now. What have we been hearing from TikTok users, TikTok creators?
Well, they have been quite upset, Craig, as you can imagine, as we've been reporting here. 170 million Americans use this app. They were making a lot of noise, calling representatives. They were moving to other Chinese-owned apps as almost a form of protest to make those other apps go viral, kind of make the point, what are you going to do, play whack-a-mole with these types of apps? But also what we're hearing from TikTok has been really interesting in the wake of that news that NBC broke yesterday, which is what Laura was just referring to. The Biden administration is essentially saying that they will not actually implement this law on Sunday. That was a huge win for TikTok because their biggest concern right now has been that day one implementation because it was the last day of a President Biden who obviously signed this into law. It was not yet over to President Trump, who has said he wants to save TikTok. The reason that's such a big deal, Craig, is because the way that the law is written, what would have happened on day one, should it have been being implemented, is the service providers to TikTok. So that's a company like, think about Apple. That's where you go into their app store and you download TikTok. That's Oracle. That's the company that's hosting all the data for TikTok. It makes it work. Those companies would have been the ones to face a punishment here. They would have been fined $5,000 per user, 5,000 times 170 million, a lot of money. With the Biden administration effectively saying they're not doing that, There is a good chance here, and I think this may end up being the headline, that TikTok continues operating as normal. They have not confirmed that. We will continue to see what happens throughout the day. The big thing we are now waiting for, and Laura can probably add more to this here, is now what the Biden administration, the Department of Justice, is going to say they're going to do. Those service providers and TikTok will be looking for the Department of Justice to put it in writing their plans to not actually implement this law on Saturday. Also, my sources have confirmed to me we will hear from TikTok today. They will say what this access to this app is going to look like this weekend.
So, Savannah, to be clear, the incoming administration, the Trump administration, indications from those officials are what?
Indications from those officials are they want to save it. The incoming national security advisor has been saying we have plans to intervene. Now, there are open questions about what that looks like. For starters, the Trump administration could essentially do what the Biden administration is saying they're going to do on Sunday, but just for a lot longer. Say, hey, we're not going to actually enforce that. They also could try to make a sale happen, which would then satisfy the law and make service providers feel better, certainly.
Laura, we've got about 30 seconds left, and I see that you've been going through the actual decision.
Yeah, I think it sort of just underscores what a challenge this was always to say it was a free speech issue here when the ban didn't actually target the speech. The ban targeted the ownership of TikTok, and I think that was why it was always an uphill battle for the app.
Do we know yet the count, 6-3 or?
It's unanimous here.
Unanimous.
There are some concurrences here that sort of explicate further, but it is a per curiam unsigned opinion.
Savannah, thank you. Laura Jarrett, thank you as well. That concludes this NBC News special report. I'm Craig.
If TikTok being banned does not radicalize you as an American citizen, you are intentionally missing the point, because it's not about TikTok. It's the fact that Republicans and Democrats across all legislative branches can expeditiously and unanimously pull together like never before, and probably never again, to streamline legislation banning a social media app while completely ignoring everything important to us. They can't pull together to make sure my kids don't get shot while they go to school, to fix the economy, to mandate livable wages, to kick hedge funds out of single-family homes so I can afford my fucking mortgage again. They're doing fuck all about homeowners insurance, stealing billions of dollars from Americans, and then leaving them for dead while their homes wash away in a flood or burn to the fucking ground in a fire. They, like every other country, can't pull together to outlaw the poisonous substances that are put into our food, creating an epidemic of obese, diabetic, cancerous Americans who need to lean on a healthcare system. They do fuck all the mandate in way of quality of service or cost. They won't give us free healthcare. They won't invest in infrastructure or education. But all of their efforts collectively go to banning a social media app. California is on fire. North Carolina and Tennessee washed away. New Jersey has geoplasmic orbs over it. Our kids get shot in school, and our economy is on the brink of fucking collapse. But their top priority is banning social media. That's where the effort goes.
Shalom. All praise to the Most High, Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, Ba'Shem Rakak Wadash, and double honor to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone for teaching His truth that's going all around the earth, and shalom to the hopeful elect, whoever and wherever you may be. All right, this is your brother Itazawan from the Great Millstone here in St. Louis, and I put together those two clips in the front. Okay, that goes into what is proposed by the Supreme Court here in Babylon the Great, also known as the USA, all right, about a potential ban against TikTok. All right, and this is not going to be real long because it just doesn't need to be. All right, now, in the grand scheme of things, TikTok is just an app, okay, and it's not all that serious. However, you know, particularly here, all right, in Babylon the Great, and particularly the women, okay, use TikTok for various things concerning folly, and that's all they really upset about. So if it were not for that, like we saw in the second clip, that woman would have no gripe. We wouldn't even see her or know who she is, okay? But because it's going to interfere with what goes on in their daily lives, okay, which is to post silly, stupid videos, right? Videos of their cat and dog and of taking booty shots and this and that and the third, okay, it's a big deal, all right? It has nothing to do really with the gospel. Now, of course, we use certain things that we see, the brotherhood, and we use some of those shorts and clips for edification, as we are in this video, right? In this lesson, okay? But that's all it's about, and we don't particularly give a shit. Whether they ban it, whether they don't, it doesn't matter, all right? Because the gospel has been being preached for a long time now. So TikTok really doesn't have anything to do with how the gospel or the word of truth has gotten across the planet. All right. So anyway, with that being said, let's just jump into Revelation 13:11, and it says that I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon, which is really going into Rome, as we like to say from time to time, Rome 2.0, which is what we're in now, right? Being basically modeled after the ancient Roman Empire when you get into the crux of the matter. And those two horns being a two-party system, a senate, a house, everything being structured like the former beast, or the former, the former beast, if you will. Okay, and this is America. All right. Verse 12, and he exercised all the power of the first beast before him, and causes the earth and them that dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. All right, which brings back, right, this second leg of Rome. And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men, and deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles. Right, and those miracles go into everything that this particular kingdom run by Esau, Edom has. Everything from their weaponry to their modernized life, right, to their bombs and missiles and everything you could think of, right? These are some of those miracles, right? The technology that the Most High has given them, right, to rule in their kingdom. And deceive them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image of the beast, which had the wound by the sword and did live. Right, again, going into the birth of this new Rome, all right, and that these are some of the things, the traits that this Roman Empire, this current one, would have. Okay, so in that you have the technology of what we have known as smartphones now. You have laptops, desktops, CD-ROMs, all of these different things, right, that came, right, a few years ago, right? You start seeing the influx of people buying all of these different small computers, right, or ways of knowledge and wisdom being increased, right, as it said in Daniel. So I said all that to say that the two horns basically, you know, are the party systems here in Babylon, and of course they're of the same head of that same lamb, right? Like we like to say, two wings of the same bird, right? Two sides of the same coin. Okay, so of course they're gonna come together in what it is, whatever their intentions are, their mission is, right? And understand it is brought on by the spirit of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, because we gotta get to the end of this place. All right, Lord willing, is this year. Okay, all right. So there's no need to be upset about any of this. Who cares, really? When you get down to it, see, everything is a big deal when it comes to entertainment, right? And these people are more concerned about folly and taking up their time throughout the course of a day. Now, ultimately, this place, Babylon the Great, okay, has what they call a legislative judicial system, all right, which has done nothing but oppressed the Israelites that are here, right? So this message, as always, is going out to you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, all right, that you should see the handwriting on the wall by now. All right, all this other crap that's going on in the earth, you shouldn't even be concerning yourself with it. What you should be concerned with, right, is whether you're going to repent and have a chance for salvation, or whether you're just going to be destroyed here. All right. But nonetheless, let's go and read Isaiah 10:1. It reads, "Woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees, and that write grievousness, which they have prescribed, to turn aside the needy from judgment, and to take away the right of the poor of my people," right? And that's what this system has done. This same Roman Empire system, okay, there's two horns and spake as a dragon, all right, always coming to you piously, right, as if they're going to do something for you, but screw you in the end, okay? And you heard that woman mention various different things from what goes on with children in schools and so on, okay? In which you Israelites are affected by all of those different topics that she mentioned in her 1-minute clip, okay? You can go back and listen to it. Let's finish verse 2. "To turn aside the needy from judgment, and to take away the right of the poor of my people, that widows may be their prey, and that they may rob the fatherless," right? And this is a system that's set up as a net. It's a snare, okay, to capture people, man, you know, and destroy their lives, right? Where only a very few profit, okay? And so you shouldn't be looking for any help from these people. But again, this whole idea of what's going on is really nothing but folly, nothing but something else to distract you, okay, from what you really need to be concerned about. Ecclesiastes 10:6, it says, "Folly is set in great dignity, and the rich sit in a low place." Okay, and this whole idea of the TikTok ban, it's only folly. Okay, and Babylon the Great is a place where folly is set on stage. Okay, it's the main idea here, and these Babylonians are enjoying themselves to the fullest. And so now you have those who are getting upset and trying to say, well, you know, you're trying to take away the freedom of speech and so on and so forth. What does it matter? Again, for the Israelites, because this is not your rest anyway. Okay? It's time for you to get yourself right. Okay? And don't worry about these things that you have no control of. So, is it any surprise that at this stage of the game and at this particular time with a so-called inauguration happening, in a couple of days, all right, that all of this firestorm would come up over something that's basically meaningless, all right? And again, that's because this place is wicked and it's filled with nothing but folly. Ecclesiastes 10 and verse 1, it reads, "A wise judge will instruct his people, and the government of a prudent man is well ordered." You're not living under a condition like that, okay? Verse 2, "As the judge of the people is himself, so are his officers. And what manner of man the ruler of the city is, such are all they that dwell therein." That's right. So if you have nothing but wickedness from the top down, guess what's going to happen? Right? You'll have nothing but wickedness, foolishness. Verse 3, "An unwise king destroyeth his people." Okay? "But through the prudence of them which are in authority, the city shall be inhabited." Right? And you don't have any prudent men, right, that are working within the confines of your government. And here you have 12 people that are called Supreme Court judges, which a woman shouldn't be a judge anyway, all right, but call themselves judges, all right, to uphold nothing but wickedness in this place. A couple of more scriptures will be done. This Proverbs 21:1. It reads, the king's heart is in the hand of the Lord Yahweh. As the rivers of water, he turneth it whithersoever he will. Right. So any decisions that are made by your so-called commander-in-chief, right, to your highest court in the land, all right, it doesn't matter because it is the Lord that turneth it that way. Okay, verse 2 says, every way of a man is right in his own eyes, but the Lord Yahweh pondereth the hearts, right? So it is the Lord that turns these people's hearts to what he actually wants. Okay, even though they may think in their own minds that they're coming up with this decision, that they've deliberated on one thing or another, and this is what we've decided, it doesn't mean anything. The Most High is behind all things. Okay, everything is pointing to the end of this place. Everything. You see? We'll get one more scripture here. This is the book of Romans. And let's start here at the top. It reads, there is therefore now no condemnation to them which are in Mashiach Yahushua, who walk not after the flesh, but after the Spirit. And for you Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, you Cubans, you Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, right? You Blackfoot Indians and Cherokees, whatever you calling yourself, Haitians and West Indians, okay? This is your turn, all right, or your time, rather, to repent, all right, and stop living after the flesh. Who cares? When this whole thing goes down, who's really going to care, right? Because that famine of the word is coming anyway, all right? And there's going to be a point where there won't be any videos anywhere. You won't be able to learn anything. Not this truth, you won't, okay? When the Lord pulls back the spirit and pulls the ministry off the street and the internet is shut down finally, and there won't be anything, okay? Take heed to the words of the prophets and the men that the Lord has sent to teach you. Verse 2, for the law of the spirit of life in Mashiach Yahushua had made me free from the law of sin and death. Okay, because that's all that's coming to this place. All you see is sin, and the result of that sin will be death. All right, there's a destruction that's coming for the iniquity of this place. All right, verse 3, for what the law could not do, in that it was weak through the flesh, the Most High sent his own Son in his likeness of sinful flesh, and for sin, condemned sin in his flesh, that the righteousness of the law might be fulfilled in us, who walk not after Salakia, who walk not after the flesh, but after the spirit. And you have to become a spiritual person, right? You have to become a new creature, a new spiritual man, all right, for that chance of salvation. Verse 5, for they that are after the flesh do mind the things of the flesh, right? And you're fleshly and carnal minded when you worried about what somebody is going to do about a damn app. Who cares? But they that are after the spirit, the things of the spirit, for to be carnally minded is death, but to be spiritually minded is life and peace. Because the carnal mind is enmity against the Most High, right? Your mind, your flesh is against the will, right? Or against the spirit, okay? And all you care about are senseless things. Again, I'll say it again. The women are only upset now because they think that they can't put their folly out for consumption. If they had never mentioned that, that woman and any other women like her will have nothing to say. Okay? Because the carnal mind is enmity against the Most High, for it is not subject to the law of the Most High, neither indeed can be. So then they that are in the flesh cannot please the Most High, right? So as long as you're worried about what happens over here in Babylon the Great and how it's going to take away your fun, your entertainment, your folly, okay? You know, it's intrusive to your life, all right? And again, speaking to you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans firstly, all right, that's got you up in an uproar, okay? When what you should be seeking are the really you should be taking the time to listen to the prophets on these different media outlets, okay, that you find on the internet, i.e. YouTube, or, like there's some brothers out there that may use TikTok, and all these other different, app platforms. But this is your opportunity to receive the truth. And as usual, and we make mention of it from time to time, you're squandering your time away looking for folly, looking for laughs and jokes and so on and so forth, watching cat videos and all this other stuff. Okay? So anyway, with that, we're just in the lesson right there. Just, again, wanted to go into something that seems to be a hot topic right now, all right? Just to bring some edification out of it, to show you that this is Babylon the Great. America is, and you shouldn't be expecting anything great to happen, all right? That these people put things out there to distract you, okay? Not too long ago, I think it was last week, I did a video that talked about keeping your eye single. Keep your eye on the truth, right? Don't be led down the wrong path by getting yourself all worked up over something that you don't control anyway. All right? It's foolishness. So we'll end the lesson right there. All right? Giving all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh by Hashem Yahushai. Shalom.